Rainforests are dense evergreen forests with tall trees and high degrees of humidity. They receive between about 200 and 1,000 centimeters of rain per year. By comparison, the Gatineau area where I am now receives an average of about 100 centimeters of rain per year. Rainforests are often, but not always, located in tropical regions around the world. Central and South America, Western and Central Africa, Western India, Southeast Asia, the island of New Guinea, and along the coast of Australia. But you will also find temperate rainforests in oceanic moist regions around the world, like along the west coast of Canada. Rainforests are highly diverse. Even if they represent only about 6.5% of the world landmass, they are home to more than half of the known species on the planet. When you're in a rainforest, the one thing that you find surprising, at least I find it surprising, is how quiet it is. There are certainly birds you hear up in the canopy, but as a whole, it's very, very quiet. You don't see a lot of insects or other life moving around until you go out and look for it in detail. It's much, much quieter and much more serene than a lot of people think. I find it interesting that there's this amazing similarity between a tropical rainforest and an ocean. For example, in tropical rainforests, you find most life either up in the canopy, where the energy is coming in the form of sunlight, or you would find it on the forest floor, where there's this rich and diverse community of scavenging creatures that lives off the organic debris that falls down from the canopy once it has died. Now, it's very, very similar to what happens in oceans. You get a large number of creatures that live on the surface of the water, and a large number of creatures that are living down on the ocean floor for those exact same reasons. You get fewer creatures that are living in that pelagic zone, that sort of area between the surface and the bottom of the water. In that intermediate zone, animals mostly move around from one place to another. I think that the plant diversity is the real basis for the rich diversity of other things that live in the tropics. There's an abundance of energy in the form of sunlight. There's also a lot of rain and high humidity, and this has allowed for many kinds of plants to exist and evolve. Also, the stability of the habitat without any glaciation or major disturbances over many, many thousands of years has allowed for continued evolution. Many mutualistic and coevolutionary relationships have developed in tropical forests. For example, there are groups of weevils that are associated only with a particular group of plants, and they've developed that close relationship over many, many thousands of years. Here in the Ottawa area, mass glaciers covered everything during the last glacial peak about 20,000 years ago. Those glaciers basically wiped out everything. And then basically now, everything that we see in Canada is a result of recolonization following the retreat of those glaciers. In the rainforest, there's very little plant growth in the understory of the forest, as there is very little light that reaches the ground level because the canopy blocks out most of the sunlight. But when a large tree falls, it creates a gap in the forest canopy. That means that light can get down to the forest floor, and a lot of smaller plants and different kinds of plants can grow in those tree gaps. So I look for tree gaps in the forest because there's a higher diversity of plants, small plants growing there, and different plants. Also, there are usually specialized groups of beetles, including weevils, that feed on those plants, as well as some that come in to feed on the dead tree. Up in the canopy layer of the forest, you find mostly butterflies, bees, wasps, flies, things like that. This is the part of the forest where most of the plants have their flowers, so you'll find most pollinating insects occur up there. You'll also find a large number of beetles up there because a lot of the beetle groups feed on reproductive structures of the plant, such as the flowers, the buds, the seeds. And most of these plant parts occur up in the canopy as well. On the forest floor, you find large numbers of small cryptic insects or other arthropods that are associated with decomposition of the plant and animal material that falls from up above. You'll find lots of beetles, lots of ants, small mites, spiders, springtails, and various other groups of arthropods that are associated with the decomposition of the leaf litter.